Hidden deep within the misty jungles of South America lies a legend that has captured the imaginations of explorers, adventurers, and fortune seekers for centuries. A tale of a city made entirely of gold, ruled by a king who shone brighter than the sun itself. This is the story of El Dorado, the mythical city of gold. But where did this legend come from? How did it begin? To uncover the truth, we must travel back in time to the land of the Muisca people. The story of El Dorado begins in the highlands of present-day Colombia, where the Muisca civilization thrived long before the arrival of European explorers. The Muisca were not only skilled artisans and farmers, but also deeply spiritual people whose lives were intertwined with rich rituals and ceremonies. Among these rituals was a sacred tradition that would later ignite one of the greatest myths in human history. Imagine this. At dawn, a chieftain, known as the Zipa, stands on a ceremonial raft in the middle of Lake Guatavita. His body is covered from head to toe in shimmering gold dust. As the first light of the sun touches the water, he throws precious gold objects and emeralds into the lake as offerings to the gods. Then, without hesitation, he plunges into the water, allowing the gold to wash off his body, a symbol of renewal and devotion to the sacred lake. This ritual was more than just a display of wealth. It was a spiritual act that connected the Muisca people to their gods and the natural world. It was this mesmerizing ceremony that sparked the imaginations of the first Spanish conquistadors who set foot on these lands. To them, the sight of a golden man, the El Hombre Dorado, was enough to give birth to a legend that would lead many to believe in the existence of a city overflowing with unimaginable wealth. When the Spanish heard the tales of the Golden Chieftain from the indigenous people, their minds raced with thoughts of riches beyond their wildest dreams. To these explorers, the ritual of the Gilded Man wasn't just a religious ceremony. It was proof of a hidden city where gold flowed like rivers. They named this mythical place El Dorado, which means the Golden One. But the Spaniards misunderstood the essence of the Muisca ritual. They saw the gold as a sign of material wealth, not realizing that to the Muisca, it symbolized spiritual wealth and a connection to their gods. This misinterpretation would send waves of conquistadors on futile quests into the heart of South America, searching for something that may have never existed in the way they imagined. The legend of El Dorado became a driving force for some of history's most daring and dangerous expeditions. From the swamps of Venezuela to the peaks of the Andes, explorers risked their lives in pursuit of the legendary city. Men like Francisco Orellana and Gonzalo Pizarro ventured deep into the Amazon, driven by the belief that a kingdom made of gold was just beyond the horizon. But despite their efforts, they found no city of gold, no king covered in precious dust. The true essence of El Dorado remained elusive, a ghostly mirage that seemed to vanish the closer they got. Over time, the legend of El Dorado evolved. It was no longer just a man or a ritual. It transformed into an entire city, then into a kingdom, and finally into an empire hidden in the uncharted regions of South America. Each failed expedition only fueled the myth further, with new rumors and tales adding layers of complexity to the story. For the Muisca, the gold was never meant to be a treasure to be hoarded or traded. It was a medium for communicating with their gods, a way to ensure harmony between the earth and the heavens. To them, the idea of El Dorado was not a place but a state of being, a representation of their culture's deep spiritual connection to nature and the divine. In their eyes, the Europeans' relentless quest for gold was a tragic misunderstanding, a futile chase after something that could not be captured or owned. The real wealth of the Muisca was not in their gold, but in their traditions, their rituals, and their respect for the world around them. And so, the legend of El Dorado lives on, a symbol of humanity's eternal quest for wealth and meaning. It serves as a reminder that sometimes, the treasures we seek are not physical but lie hidden in the stories, cultures, and beliefs of those who came before us. The origins of El Dorado are more than just a tale of gold. They are a testament to the power of myth, the allure of the unknown, and the enduring mystery of human ambition. In the heart of South America's untamed wilderness, a dangerous obsession was born. An obsession that drove men to madness and despair. An obsession that led entire expeditions to vanish into the unforgiving Amazon jungle. This is the story of the Spanish conquistadors and their relentless pursuit of the legendary city of gold, El Dorado. The legend of El Dorado reached the ears of the Spanish conquistadors during the early 16th century, when tales of the New World's unimaginable riches spread like wildfire across Europe. Fresh from their conquests in Mexico and Peru, where they had plundered the treasures of the Aztec and Inca empires, the Spaniards believed they had stumbled upon a land where wealth was limitless. And so began their obsession with a new target, mythical city of El Dorado, where it was said that gold was more abundant than stone. One of the most famous explorers who set out in search of El Dorado was Francisco Orellana. In 1541, Orellana joined an expedition led by Gonzalo Pizarro, the half-brother of the famous conqueror of the Inca Empire, Francisco Pizarro. The goal was simple yet audacious: to find the land of cinnamon and the golden riches rumored to be hidden deep within the Amazon. As they ventured into the dense jungle, the expedition quickly faced a harsh reality. The heat was unbearable, and the air was thick with humidity. Swarms of insects tormented the men day and night. Food supplies ran low, and diseases like malaria and dysentery spread through their ranks like wildfire. Orellana's journey was a fight against nature itself. As conditions worsened and desperation grew, the party made the fateful decision to split up. Orellana took a small contingent downriver, believing they could find supplies and return to aid the rest of the expedition. But the journey downstream was one of treacherous rapids, hostile tribes, and impenetrable jungle. During this journey, Francisco Orellana became the first European to navigate the length of the mighty Amazon River, a river so vast that it seemed to stretch into eternity. Although they encountered unimaginable hardships, Orellana's discovery of the Amazon was one of the greatest achievements of his expedition. Yet, despite his monumental journey, the city of El Dorado remained elusive, a golden dream still just out of reach. Orellana returned to Spain, not with gold, but with stories of vast, unexplored territories. His accounts of the Amazon were filled with wonder and mystery, and while he failed to find El Dorado, his name would forever be etched in history as the discoverer of the world's largest river. Meanwhile, back in the jungle, Gonzalo Pizarro's situation grew desperate. Abandoned by Orellana and with supplies dwindling, Pizarro's men faced starvation. They resorted to eating their horses, leather saddles, and even the leather belts they wore to survive. Driven by the belief that El Dorado lay just beyond the next mountain or the next river, Pizarro pushed his men to their limits. But the jungle seemed to mock their efforts, swallowing them in its endless greenery and punishing their every step. In the end, Gonzalo Pizarro returned to Quito with only a fraction of his men, broken and empty-handed. The dream of El Dorado had led them to nothing but ruin. For many of the conquistadors, the search for El Dorado was not just a quest, it was an obsession that consumed their lives. They were driven by more than greed. They were fueled by the desire to surpass the legendary conquests of their predecessors. To conquer El Dorado would have been to secure their place in history alongside Cortés and Pizarro, the men who had brought down the mighty Aztec and Inca empires. But for most, this quest ended in despair. They faced not only the dangers of the Amazon, but also betrayal, starvation, and death. Entire expeditions vanished, lost to history in the uncharted wilderness, their bones now part of the jungle's eternal silence. The failure to find El Dorado was not just due to the harsh conditions of the Amazon. It was rooted in the misunderstandings of the conquistadors themselves. They believed that gold equaled power and that all civilizations must share their thirst for wealth. But to the indigenous tribes of South America, like the Muisca, gold was a symbol of spiritual significance, not merely a currency. This fundamental difference in perception meant that the Spanish were doomed to fail. They were searching for a city that existed only in their own imaginations, a city born not of fact, but of myth and desire. In the end, the legend of El Dorado was not just about gold. It was about humanity's endless pursuit of the unattainable. The Spanish conquistadors, in their quest for glory, ventured into the unknown and paid a heavy price for their dreams. El Dorado remains one of history's greatest mysteries, a symbol of the eternal lure of the unknown. Their obsession with El Dorado tells us a deeper story, a story of ambition, greed, and the unquenchable thirst for something greater than ourselves. And even today, the legend of El Dorado continues to inspire adventurers, reminding us that some quests are not about finding, but about seeking. In an age of exploration and conquest, when legends of untold riches in the New World spread like wildfire, few men were as determined or as daring as Sir Walter Raleigh. His quest for the legendary city of El Dorado was not just a search for gold. It was a desperate gamble for power, ambition, and survival. But Raleigh's relentless pursuit of this mythical city would ultimately lead him down a path of ruin and tragedy. Sir Walter Raleigh was not just any explorer. He was a man of many talents, a soldier, a poet, a courtier, and a favorite of Queen Elizabeth I. His rise in the royal court was swift, his charm and intelligence earning him the Queen's favor. But as England's political landscape shifted, so too did Raleigh's fortunes, and he soon found himself embroiled in a struggle for power and influence. To secure his position and prove his worth to the crown, Raleigh turned his attention to the one thing that could elevate him above all others: El Dorado, the legendary city of gold that was said to lie hidden in the unexplored regions of South America. In 1595, Raleigh set sail on his first expedition to find El Dorado, leading a fleet of ships to the Orinoco River in present-day Venezuela. Unlike the Spanish conquistadors who came before him, Raleigh was convinced that the city lay in this region, hidden away from the prying eyes of the world. His journey into the unknown was filled with both hope and danger. The Orinoco River basin was a maze of dense forests, treacherous rapids, and hostile wildlife. Raleigh and his men battled against the relentless elements, fighting swarms of insects, oppressive heat, and the ever-present threat of disease. But through it all, Raleigh's determination never wavered. He believed that finding El Dorado would not only bring him unimaginable wealth, but also cement his place in history as one of the greatest explorers of his time. More importantly, it would strengthen England's position against its rivals, Spain and Portugal, who dominated the riches of the New World. But Raleigh's quest for El Dorado was about more than just gold. It was a mission born out of necessity, driven by his need to regain favor at court after falling out of the Queen's grace. Despite his initial successes and his place among the Queen's most trusted advisors, Raleigh's position became increasingly precarious due to his secret marriage to one of Elizabeth's maids of honor, a scandal that led to his temporary imprisonment in the Tower of London. To restore his status, Raleigh needed a victory, something that would capture the Queen's attention and remind her of his value. The discovery of El Dorado would be just the thing to reclaim his place at the heart of English power. After months of grueling exploration, Raleigh returned to England without the fabled treasures he had promised. But rather than admitting defeat, he chose to embellish his reports, claiming that he had indeed found signs of great wealth and that the city of El Dorado was just beyond the reach of his expedition. His tales of golden cities and magnificent empires were enough to reignite the fires of ambition in England's nobility. Raleigh's vivid descriptions convinced many that another expedition was not just warranted, but essential. Yet, in reality, these stories were built more on hope than truth, a strategic deception to buy himself more time and resources. Years passed, and the political climate in England changed with the death of Queen Elizabeth I and the rise of King James I, who was far less sympathetic to Raleigh's ambitions. After years of imprisonment and political isolation, Raleigh was granted one last chance to prove himself. In 1617, he set out on his final expedition to find El Dorado, his hopes hanging by a thread. This time, the journey was even more fraught with peril. As Raleigh's health declined and tensions with Spain escalated, the expedition descended into chaos. His son, Wat Raleigh, was killed during a skirmish with Spanish troops, dealing a devastating blow to the aging explorer. The weight of his failures and the loss of his son marked the beginning of the end for Raleigh. Upon his return to England, Raleigh was arrested on the orders of King James I. The king, under pressure from Spain, saw Raleigh's failed expedition as an act of aggression that threatened the fragile peace between England and Spain. The tales of El Dorado, which once stirred the hearts of adventurers and monarchs alike, had now turned to ashes. In 1618, Sir Walter Raleigh was executed for treason, his dreams of glory shattered and his quest for El Dorado unfulfilled. The man who once stood at the pinnacle of English society died a traitor's death, all for a city that may never have existed. Raleigh's pursuit of El Dorado was a story of ambition, deception, and the thirst for power. His journey, though marked by failure, left a lasting impact on the world of exploration. He inspired generations of adventurers to seek the unknown, to venture into uncharted territories in search of what lies beyond the horizon. Even today, the legend of El Dorado continues to captivate the imagination, reminding us that sometimes the greatest treasures lie not in what we find, but in the pursuit itself. Sir Walter Raleigh's quest for El Dorado was not just a search for gold. It was a testament to humanity's relentless desire to conquer the impossible. His story is a reminder that even in the face of insurmountable odds, the spirit of exploration burns bright, pushing us to dream, to seek, and to dare. For centuries, the legend of El Dorado has haunted the imagination of explorers, adventurers, and treasure hunters. While the stories of the Spanish conquistadors' failed attempts have faded into history, the quest for the fabled city of gold is far from over. In the modern age, science and technology have taken up the mantle, ushering in a new wave of expeditions, this time armed with cutting-edge tools. But will the truth about El Dorado finally be revealed? The story of El Dorado has long been associated with Lake Guatavita in Colombia, a site of great spiritual significance to the Muisca people. According to legend, the Muisca king would cover himself in gold dust and dive into the lake during sacred ceremonies, leading early explorers to believe that vast treasures lay hidden beneath its surface. In the 16th and 17th centuries, Spanish explorers and later British treasure hunters made numerous attempts to drain Lake Guatavita in search of gold. Some even partially succeeded, recovering a few gold artifacts. But the majority of the lake's treasures, if they existed, remained elusive, shrouded in mud and mystery. Today, Lake Guatavita is a protected site, but its legend has not been forgotten. In recent years, scientists have employed non-invasive methods such as ground-penetrating radar and underwater scanning technologies to probe its depths. These modern techniques, while more respectful of the environment, have not revealed the treasure troves imagined by the conquistadors. However, they have given us a clearer picture of the geological and cultural significance of the area. Many experts now believe that the legend of El Dorado may have been misunderstood, that the gold dust rituals of the Muisca were symbolic rather than indicative of a hidden golden city. Still, the allure of Lake Guatavita remains strong, a reminder of how myths can endure even in the face of scientific skepticism. In the 21st century, new technologies have revolutionized the search for lost civilizations. One of the most promising tools in this modern quest is LiDAR, light detection and ranging. This advanced laser-based technology can penetrate dense vegetation, allowing researchers to map out hidden structures and topographies that are invisible to the naked eye. LiDAR has already been used to uncover ancient cities hidden in the jungles of Central America, leading to the discovery of vast Mayan complexes that were previously unknown. Given its success, LiDAR has now been applied to the search for El Dorado in the Amazon basin. In recent years, researchers have used LiDAR to scan remote areas of the Amazon, hoping to uncover clues that could point to the existence of an advanced civilization that inspired the El Dorado myth. While no golden city has been found, these efforts have revealed evidence of large, sophisticated settlements that once thrived in the region. Complex societies that may have given rise to the stories of El Dorado. Archaeologists working in South America have uncovered artifacts that suggest ancient civilizations were far more advanced than previously thought. From intricate pottery to complex agricultural systems, these findings challenge the simplistic view that El Dorado was purely a fantasy. While gold itself remains scarce, the wealth of knowledge uncovered about these lost societies has been invaluable. One of the most exciting discoveries in recent years has been evidence of large-scale earthworks, geometric patterns carved into the landscape that can only be seen from the air. These structures suggest that the people of the Amazon were capable of building massive cities and complex societies, leading some to wonder if the idea of El Dorado was rooted in these very real civilizations. Though the treasures of gold may remain elusive, these discoveries have added new layers to the El Dorado story, hinting that the search was not for a single city of gold, but for a network of sophisticated cultures that thrived in the Amazon long before European contact. Modern science has also turned to the environment itself for clues. Using satellite imagery, researchers have studied the patterns of deforestation and soil composition in the Amazon basin. These studies have revealed that vast areas of the jungle were once densely populated and cultivated by ancient peoples. Recent discoveries suggest that the Amazon was not the untouched wilderness once believed, but rather a landscape that had been shaped and managed by human hands for thousands of years. This has led some scientists to propose that the legends of El Dorado may have been inspired by these long-lost civilizations and their mastery over the environment. As modern science sheds new light on the ancient world, Some researchers have begun to question whether El Dorado was ever meant to be taken literally. Could it be that the story of the gilded man and his golden city was, in fact, a metaphor for something else? Perhaps a reflection of the conquistadors' own greed and desire for wealth? Many historians now believe that the myth of El Dorado may have been a European invention, born out of misunderstandings and cultural projections. The indigenous peoples of South America, like the Muisca, valued gold for its spiritual significance rather than its material wealth. To them, the act of offering gold to the gods was a sacred ritual, not a sign of hidden treasures. Even though the mythical city of gold remains elusive, the search for El Dorado is far from over. As technology continues to evolve, new tools like LiDAR, advanced drones, and AI-powered data analysis promise to push the boundaries of exploration further than ever before. While we may never find a literal city of gold, the real treasure may lie in the discoveries yet to come. Each new expedition, each scan of the jungle floor, brings us closer to understanding the complex history of the Amazon and the civilizations that once thrived there. In the end, the search for El Dorado is not just about gold or wealth. It's about uncovering the mysteries of the past, about understanding the ancient peoples who lived, thrived, and shaped the landscape of South America. Perhaps the greatest treasure we can find is the knowledge and insight these lost civilizations have left behind. So, is El Dorado real? Maybe not in the way we once imagined. But as long as there are those willing to search, to push the boundaries of science and exploration, the legend will live on, reminding us that sometimes the true adventure is in the quest itself. From the golden jungles of South America to the silver screens of Hollywood, the legend of El Dorado has left an indelible mark on popular culture. This mythical city of gold has not only inspired explorers and treasure hunters, but has also become a symbol of adventure, greed, and the eternal quest for the unattainable. But why does this legend continue to fascinate us? Why does El Dorado appear in so many of our movies, books, games, and TV shows? Let's dive into the cultural journey of El Dorado and see how this myth has shaped the stories we love. One of the most iconic representations of El Dorado in modern pop culture is DreamWorks' animated film The Road to El Dorado. Released in 2000, this film brought the legend to life with humor, adventure, and a touch of romance. It follows two Spanish con artists, Tulio and Miguel, who stumble upon the fabled city of gold and must navigate its mysteries while balancing their greed and growing respect for its people. Despite its lighthearted and comedic tone, The Road to El Dorado captured the essence of what makes the myth so enduring. The idea that El Dorado is more than just a place. It's a journey of discovery and a test of one's character. The film's portrayal of the city as a place of awe and wonder resonates with audiences, reminding us of humanity's eternal quest to uncover the unknown. The legend of El Dorado has also been a popular theme in literature for centuries. From Sir Walter Raleigh's own writings about his expeditions to fictional tales like Edgar Allan Poe's poem El Dorado, the story has been a powerful metaphor for ambition, obsession, and the pursuit of elusive dreams. In Poe's poem, El Dorado is depicted not as a literal city, but as a symbol of unattainable goals that drives the human spirit to its limits. The poem's melancholic tone serves as a reminder that sometimes the pursuit of our desires can lead us to despair when the goal remains forever out of reach. More recently, authors like Clive Cussler and Michael Crichton have woven the myth of El Dorado into thrilling adventure novels, blending historical intrigue with modern-day treasure hunts. These books often pit characters against the harsh realities of the jungle, echoing the dangers faced by real-life explorers while amplifying the legend with imaginative twists and turns. Video games have also embraced the legend of El Dorado, turning it into a virtual playground for adventure and mystery. One of the most notable examples is the Uncharted series, where treasure hunter Nathan Drake embarks on a perilous journey to find the legendary city of gold in Uncharted, Drake's Fortune. In the game, El Dorado is reimagined not as a city, but as a cursed golden idol with supernatural powers. This twist adds a layer of suspense and danger, blurring the lines between myth and reality. The concept of El Dorado as a hidden treasure that brings more trouble than it's worth ties into the age-old theme of the perils of greed. Similarly, the Tomb Raider series has featured its own versions of El Dorado, where the protagonist, Lara Croft, faces deadly traps and ancient puzzles in search of the lost city. These games highlight the excitement and danger associated with the legend, making players feel like modern-day explorers unraveling the secrets of a forgotten world. El Dorado has also left its golden touch on some of the most beloved adventure films and TV series. The character of Indiana Jones, the iconic archaeologist, often finds himself chasing after mysterious artifacts and lost cities reminiscent of El Dorado. While the films don't always focus on El Dorado directly, they capture the spirit of exploration and the thirst for hidden treasures that the legend represents. Shows like National Treasure also tap into the theme of secret cities and lost fortunes, weaving the legend of El Dorado into stories of American history and conspiracy. These narratives draw on our collective fascination with hidden knowledge and the idea that there are still mysteries left to be solved. But why has El Dorado remained such a potent symbol in our stories? What is it about this myth that captivates us, even in the age of technology and scientific discovery? Part of the answer lies in the universal human desire for something greater, for wealth, for glory, for immortality. El Dorado is more than just a city of gold. It's a representation of our deepest yearnings and ambitions. It symbolizes the idea that there's always something out there, just beyond our reach, waiting to be discovered. It's this tantalizing promise of hidden riches and untold mysteries that continues to inspire storytellers across the world. In a way, the legend of El Dorado has evolved to become a metaphor for all of our unattainable dreams. Whether it's in movies, books, games, or TV shows, El Dorado represents that golden ideal we chase, knowing that the journey itself might be more rewarding than the destination. Today, El Dorado continues to be a powerful symbol in art and culture, representing not just physical wealth but also personal fulfillment and the pursuit of knowledge. In modern interpretations, the legend is often used to critique materialism, to question the costs of ambition, and to explore the nature of human desire. From political cartoons to satirical references in TV shows, El Dorado has become shorthand for the empty promises of wealth and success that our society often chases. It serves as a reminder that sometimes the real treasure is the wisdom we gain along the way, not the gold we seek. Whether it's a hidden city in the Amazon or a symbol of humanity's greatest ambitions, the myth of El Dorado continues to shine brightly in our collective imagination. It's a legend that transcends time and geography, inspiring us to dream bigger, to reach further, and to believe that there's always a world of wonder waiting to be discovered. For centuries, the legend of El Dorado has lured adventurers and dreamers into the heart of the Amazon, promising unimaginable wealth and a city made entirely of gold. But was this legendary place ever real? Or was it merely a mirage conjured by the hopes and greed of those who sought it? In this final chapter, we will separate the myth from reality and explore whether El Dorado was ever more than a metaphor, a symbol of human ambition and desire. The myth of El Dorado originated with the indigenous tribes of the Andes, specifically the Muisca people of present-day Colombia. the Spanish heard tales of a tribal king who covered himself in gold dust and dove into Lake Guatavita as part of a sacred ritual. This story of the gilded man, or El Hombre Dorado, was distorted and exaggerated over time, evolving from a simple ritual into the legend of a vast city overflowing with riches. What started as a ritual to honor the gods soon grew into a tale of untold wealth. The Spanish conquistadors, fresh from their conquests in the New World, were eager for new riches. Their hunger for gold was insatiable, and the rumor of El Dorado became a driving force behind their explorations into South America. But what they found was far from the glittering paradise they imagined. Historians now believe that the Muisca's golden rituals were largely symbolic. Gold to them was not a currency of wealth but a material of spiritual significance, used in ceremonies and offerings to the gods. The idea of a city made entirely of gold was likely a European projection, fueled by greed and misunderstanding of indigenous cultures. Over the years, countless expeditions have set out to find El Dorado, but all have come up empty-handed. Modern archaeological research has yet to uncover any evidence of a city as described in the legends. What scientists have found instead are the remains of complex societies that valued gold not for its material worth, but for its cultural and spiritual significance. Groundbreaking technologies like LiDAR and satellite imaging have allowed us to peer beneath the dense jungle canopies of the Amazon. These tools have revealed hidden settlements and ancient earthworks, suggesting that advanced civilizations did indeed exist in the region. However, they were not the golden utopias of legend. Rather, they were sophisticated societies with rich cultures and unique ways of life. So why does the legend of El Dorado persist even in the face of evidence that challenges its existence? The answer lies in the power of myth itself. Myths are not just stories. They are reflections of our deepest desires, fears, and aspirations. They tap into the universal human longing for something greater, whether it's wealth, knowledge, or the hope of a better life. El Dorado has become more than just a city of gold. It has become a symbol of the unattainable. It represents the idea that there is always something more to strive for, just beyond our reach. This enduring allure keeps the legend alive, inspiring new generations of storytellers, treasure hunters, and dreamers. Many scholars today argue that El Dorado was never meant to be taken literally. Instead, it serves as a powerful metaphor for the human condition, a reflection of our unending pursuit of success and our insatiable appetite for more. Just as the Spanish conquistadors were willing to risk everything in search of riches, we too often find ourselves chasing dreams that seem forever out of reach. Some even suggest that the true El Dorado was the journey itself, the exploration, the trials, the adventure. For the explorers who embarked on this quest, the legend provided a sense of purpose, a reason to push beyond the boundaries of the known world. In recent years, scientific skepticism has played a key role in reshaping our understanding of El Dorado. As more data emerges, the idea of a single golden city becomes increasingly unlikely. Instead, we see a picture of many interconnected cultures and settlements spread throughout the Amazon, each with their own traditions and stories. Some discoveries even suggest that the wealth described in the El Dorado myths may have been a misunderstanding of the natural resources and agricultural innovations of these ancient societies. These achievements were remarkable in their own right, but they didn't conform to the Europeans' narrow definition of treasure. But despite the evidence, El Dorado's grip on the imagination remains as strong as ever. Even today, new expeditions are launched, and new theories are proposed about where the city might be hidden. the legend has become a psychological anchor, drawing people in with its promise of glory, fortune, and the ultimate prize. The pursuit of El Dorado speaks to a fundamental part of human nature, the desire to believe in the impossible, to find meaning in the quest itself, and to prove that there are still mysteries left to be solved in our world. In this way, El Dorado has transcended the boundaries of myth and reality, living on in our hearts and minds as the ultimate symbol of adventure. So, does El Dorado exist? Perhaps not in the way we once believed. But as long as there are people who dream, who hope, and who dare to seek what lies beyond, the legend will live on. In the end, El Dorado might not be a place we can find on a map. It might be the journey itself, the eternal search for something greater than ourselves. If you've enjoyed this deep dive into the myth versus reality of El Dorado, please like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon for more explorations into the mysteries of history. Until next time, keep believing in the journey, because sometimes the true treasure is in the adventure itself.